This is not your granny's triple chocolate cake. And here's how I made it. The first thing I want to do is I want to make that ganache glaze. I like to make my glaze and get it out the way. So we want to heat 1 cup of heavy cream up in the microwave. In a bowl, we're going to put 1.5 cups of just regular semi-sweet chocolate chips, and then we're going to add our hot cream to that. Now I think I heated my cream up for maybe like 1.5 to 2 minutes to get it really steaming hot. And then you want the chips to sit in the heavy cream for about maybe 30 seconds. Then you're going to start stirring it together like you see me doing here. And with ganache, you just got to trust the process because it's going to come together. It'll look like it's not going to come together at first, but as you can see, just with a little patience, you trust the process and it'll come together. Now in a saucepan, let's start our cake. We're going to add to a saucepan, make sure it's a heavy bottom saucepan, 2.5 cups sugar, or you can do 3 cups of sugar. I always kind of scale it back. To that, you're going to add 1 bar of unsweetened chocolate, baking chocolate. And to that, you want to add 1 cup of water. And then we're going to add to this 2 sticks of butter. I use salted butter, but you can use unsalted if you like. And you're going to melt this mixture over a medium heat until it's just melted. You do not want to bring this to a boil. While that's melting, go ahead and prepare your bundt pan and set that in the refrigerator while you make your cake. And I use this bundt pan, but I'm going to tell you, you're really going to need one bigger than this. Or you can just save some of the batter. Once your chocolate mixture is melted, you want to add to this 2 tablespoons, 1 to 2 tablespoons of vanilla extract, depending on your preference. And stir that in, and then just set this to the side, and we're going to work on our dry ingredients. For our dry ingredients, I'm using all-purpose flour. We're going to use 3.5 cups of all-purpose flour, and I'm going to sift my dry ingredients directly into my mixing bowl for my mixer. So to the 3.5 cups of all-purpose flour, we want to add 2 teaspoons of baking powder right to the flour, and then we're going to add 2.5 teaspoons of baking soda. Add that right to the flour and the baking powder. And to that, we're going to add 1 nice teaspoon of salt. I use table salt, but you can use sea salt if you want. And lastly, 1/2 cup of cocoa powder, and I'm using the special dark Hershey's cocoa powder. And we're going to sift these dry ingredients, like I said, directly into my mixing bowl. This glass bowl is the bowl that goes to the mixer I'm going to use. And we're going to just sift them all and then put our bowl on our our mixer. And then we start to add our chocolate mixture. Now this is still relatively warm. So it's not steaming hot anymore, but just know that it is still warm, so you want to be careful. And once you add all of this in, see, the next ingredient we're going to add is our 2 cups of buttermilk. And so because this mixture is warm, I don't really worry about making sure that my buttermilk is at room temperature, because I actually want my buttermilk to cool this down. So it's 2 cups of whole buttermilk. Please use whole buttermilk, not half, not skim, not 1%, whole buttermilk for this. Add your buttermilk to the chocolate mixture, and this is going to cool it down so that we can add our eggs. And as you can see, I am being sure to scrape my bowl. That's the wonderful thing about a glass bowl, is because it will show you need to scrape your bowl. You need to get down to the bottom of the bowl and scrape these ingredients. So our last ingredient is our 5 large eggs that I'm kind of adding in. I'm not really doing it one at a time. And this is the only time I crank the mixer up. I crank this mixer up to like 3 so I can go ahead and whip these eggs in, because this is the last ingredient. But prior to this, my mixer was on speed 1 and 2. So now that's it. we're going to add this batter to our pan. This cake will bake in a preheated 350-degree oven for about 45 to 50 minutes. You want to bake it just until when you stick a toothpick in it, a moist crumb comes out. Now, you don't want wet batter on the toothpick. You want it to be a moist crumb. You don't want to bake it till the toothpick comes out clean either. And again, I may mention before that this batter was way too much for this pan. So you want to either hold some batter back or use a larger pan, like a 16-cup pan. And you will see when I flip this over, I actually had some spillage, some batter overflowed. See it there at the top? A little bit of batter. So it was just, but it worked out. Everything worked out. I eventually got it out the pan. I did have a little bit of it on the side to stick a little bit. So it didn't come out exactly perfect. I had like a little gash on the side, but that's the great thing about this ganache glaze is that it will cover all of that up. And so I did allow my cake to sit in the pan for about 10 minutes before I flipped it out. And then it sat for like another 20 minutes before I glazed it. And here's the finished product. Happy baking.